The future of work. Technology has changed so much already about how we work. We now have the capability to hire people from around the world much easier. Speaking of globalization, our customers are also increasingly from abroad, rather than simply at home. People can sign into their office computer remotely. So many jobs have been automated, however, so many more technology developments and maintenance jobs have been born. With many of these trends have come other less obvious results. This course focuses on freelancing. So what impact has this had relative to the types of jobs available? We'd like to explore in this video, so let's get into it. We'll start with a series of studies and statistics, and then go into some of our own qualitative observations, while ending with our own predictions and conclusions. So, statistically, what are the numbers saying right now? The first thing we are commonly seeing is that an already large and growing percentage acknowledge that the future of work is freelancing. We already told you that 34% are doing freelancing now, but is that primed to grow? According to PwC's Future of Work study, 2 out of 5 people around the world believe traditional employment won't even be around in the future. People will be 100% independent. In addition, 31% of HR professionals are actually building their talent strategies right now around this portfolio career type. So that's really interesting. A lot of the bigger employers are turning their sights to freelancing hiring as a primary strategy. This means a lot more freelance work will be available in the future. Second, however, we note that a lot of workers are already non-employee. According to Ardent Partners 2015-2016, The Future of Work is Here, 35% of today's total workforce is non-employee. So that means that they're temps, freelancers, contractors, and other sort of temporary jobs. So that's very interesting. 1 in 3 are already in the freelancing world today. The third statistic we found really interesting is that employee engagement is generally not good around the world. According to Gallup in various employee engagement surveys, in the US, 70% of workers are not engaged at work. In Germany, it's 84% not engaged at work. And in Chile, 61% are not engaged at work. Now, that's really interesting. In 3 very different labor markets, 3 very different geographies, people are not thrilled by their jobs. My conclusion would be people want to move around, change things up, and take more flexible jobs. Again, something that supports freelancing. And to round up the statistics, surveys are already showing momentum toward a lot of job movement. According to JobVite, 30% of workers work less than 3 years on the job these days, and the majority under 6 years. Almost 3 in 4 are interested in other opportunities even when satisfied with their current jobs. Millennials will soon be the majority of the workforce, and they're statistically most open to new jobs and shorter-term jobs. So there you go. 4 separate studies showing both employers as well as workers creating the conditions that are favorable to a lot more freelancing. Or, at the very least, a different job environment than 9 to 5 at a local office for a long duration of time. Now, these 4 studies are really interesting, so certainly take a look in a little bit more detail. They have a lot of different statistics that are very interesting and certainly prove that trend to an increasing degree. On the course notes, we'll link all these so that you can explore it on your own. Okay, so if that's what the formal studies say, what have we observed in our career, both as hirers, employees, freelancers, and entrepreneurs? The first qualitative observation we have is that from an employer's perspective, it makes a lot more sense to hire temporary workers for many jobs. The reason behind that is fourfold. First is specialization. You want the best person, the most qualified, the biggest expert to do every job. So an employer is more likely to find that anytime a need comes up, rather than hire generalists and get someone less than the best of their needs, they hire the expert. They find the person who can specialize. Second, in many cases, it's actually cheaper. So while employers may or may not pay a larger rate for temporary workers, there's also a lot of savings. you lose less money from bad hires or bad workers because they're temporary. You always have a specialist, so things should take less time to complete, and it should be less prone to errors and defects. Finally, you can hire from around the world, which means labor costs are often cheaper in other markets. Again, temporary can make a lot of sense when it comes to the dollars and cents. Third is accountability. As we said, accountability is greater for temporary workers because they're always concerned about reputation and the ability to sell more work, either from you or using your reviews to find new jobs. Employees tend to get comfortable and take a lot less accountability for their performance, so you can reasonably expect better performance from your temporary workers. Fourth and finally, changes are so rapid. The economy, technology, competition all changes at such a rapid pace these days. Thus, you can't always predict what skills you'll need and what work will ultimately need to be done. Temporary work aligns really well with how frequent changes are made in virtually any industry these days. The second qualitative observation we make is that younger workers like flexibility in their work. They have grown up with all the conveniences of technology, and that is carried over to lifestyle preferences as well. All the statistics and all the personal observations I've made say that location flexibility is important, where workers want the capability to work remotely rather than simply in a cubicle. They want working hour flexibility, where more concern is given to getting the job done versus being on the clock for both a set number of hours and specific times during the day. Finally, workers like job responsibility flexibility. They like to rotate responsibilities, learn new things, work with new people, and generally change things up versus doing the exact same thing every day for a full career. So between all the flexibility that this generation craves, freelancing matches up really nicely with that. Third qualitative observation is that we've personally witnessed even traditional employment businesses adapting to changing times. We see older businesses modernizing with the latest technology. We see all types of businesses, both big and small, taking advantage of outsourcing and hiring foreign workers. We see use of modern tools like social media, remote desktop, and more. We see businesses offering things like long maternity and even paternity leave, the capability to take sabbaticals, and flex scheduling. Businesses that aren't staying current with the modern times are simply not desirable places to work, which is forcing them to change a lot. Finally, from a qualitative standpoint, better technology will only improve this trend. There are so many things that we see being worked on in Silicon Valley these days. Things like automation, which lessens the need for human resources. Things like virtual reality that creates a whole new universe of lifestyles. We see startups across finance, education, marketing, and communications. We see new tools focused on productivity and management every single day. Technology is only accelerating a very different type of work. So there you go. Whether the statistics say it's true, or it's merely something that you or I can observe on our own common sense, we know that the future of work will look very different than the way work has been done for a long time.